Okay, so today I'm going to show you how to basically determine when your motherboard is bad. At least one of the ways that I found out. And by replacing it, the furnace was heating up in no time. This is an old, it's for a Carrier Crusader unit. So it's a Carrier board, but there's your number, your model number of the motherboard itself, and with that you can actually go online and purchase that motherboard instead of going to the supply house. Supply houses will not probably sell it to you because it's got to be through a contractor. So I went online and I found it myself. So anyway, right now we're going to start this with this little tab here. Has control of the unit whether it starts or not when you switch it on, and the switch is in the back. Okay, so now it's gonna cycle through. So first the blower, test the blower, and that's gonna go. Just give it a minute here. It's gonna do a few other things here, and then the glow plug will glow, and the motherboard will know that it's okay to go. Here's clear, and it will send 24 volts to this, which will open the gas valve and send gas through here and ignite the furnace. And one of the ways I use a fluke meter, which is probably one of the best in the market. It's got all the bells and whistles. I have this other clamp meter, but that does the same thing, Craftsman. It's a little less expensive. And if you're really budget conscious, you can get this little gizmo for $5 at the auto parts store, Walmart, Home Depot. They all sell this, but I really don't use that anymore. I really like using my fluke. And now this kicks on. This clears any of the air in case there's any, I believe, like excess gas and so forth through the exhaust, so that it doesn't get any. Make sure it's clear air before it shoots any gas through there. You see the glow plug there? It's gonna get hot, and when it senses it's hot and it's ready for the flame, there you go. Right at that moment, when the other motherboard was there, that did not happen. This was not getting the current. So right now I'm going to let this cut off, and I'll show you what I did. So that's perfectly fine right there. But okay, so now we're going to go ahead and cut this off. And so what I did is, first of all, once I cut the switch off, then I just make sure that there's no current from the main power, and I get hot on white. Okay, so there's no voltage there. So what I did is before I unplugged anything, I pulled the motherboard out. There's 3 screws here on the side that I just pulled off, and I slid the motherboard out. You see these little tabs here? Once you take these screws off, or the hex heads, you just kind of slide it out carefully to avoid this tab here, and there's another one up here. And I slid it out with the wires hanging just to give myself enough slack, and I pulled it over. Then I slid the new motherboard right behind it into position. Once I did that, I just kind of let this dangle with the wires and screwed the hex head in. Right in those screws. Screw those in, put it into position. Then I went one wire by wire. So I assured that the connections were, sorry, that's upside down. So I assured that the connections were correct. And once I did the thermostat even, I did the same thing. And so this little thing is no good. But the way I determined that it was no good was, number one, this gas valve was replaced 2 years ago. So I knew that was good. And basically, when I did that whole cycle, I came over here and I just applied the, reversed. I applied these, the two leads, and when it cycled, when that flame came on, it should have hit 24 volts, which I'll show you here in a second. But when it wasn't doing that, by having this on there and letting it cycle, the flame would not come on, and we weren't getting any kind of reading. We weren't getting any kind of reading, so I knew that there was no voltage getting to here. The next step was to trace back into the wires. Obviously, with the keyboard, the connections, it's kind of hard to determine. But what I did is, this is a step-down transformer. So basically, main power comes in here, which we know that there should be 24 volts in there. And so by checking there, I was checking for 124 volts. So let me show you. Kick it on, and okay, let's focus here, okay? I'll get that reading. Well, focus here real quick, and I'll have to go in there, and I just can't get to it right now, but it's kind of hard to get in there. Oh, I know why. I think I have this thing on. Yeah. Okay, so I do this here, and 120 volts. Okay, so that right there, this is hot. So I was able to trace that. Did you see that? Okay, so 120 volts. So then what I did is I traced it from there into the transformer, and so I traced the wires basically that go there, and I was able to check that this was getting 120 volts as well. From there, on the output, I was able to trace those wires, this blue and red, and check that there was 24 volts, and there was. When I this thing, I had the little tab done there, and I'll show you. Let me see if I can show you here. Just gotta kind of, okay, and focus there, and 27 volts. Okay, so I was able to determine that the motherboard was getting 120 volts. The transformer was receiving the 120 and then sending it to the motherboard. 120 and sending out 24 volts. From there, that's when I determined that the motherboard was not allowing it to pass through here, because before the flame kicked on, with the old motherboard, it was not igniting, and there was no 26 or 27 volts that were sent here. So, that being said, let's just put this cover back on for now, and because I've already done all the wiring, but that's basically how I was able to troubleshoot this. So now, when I go here, now it's gonna kick in. Let me turn this off and on, just so the blower doesn't cycle. It's a little quicker. Okay. So now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hold these. Okay. Alright, so focus here, right there. So I'm going to put one lead here, and I don't think it really matters which one, but I'm going to put these right here, okay? And I'm just going to hold them there. Now I have some alligator clips that I can just put them there and forget about it, but this is not a big deal here, okay? So as you can see right here, we're getting just like half a volt right now, just which is probably just a little trickle. And when the glow plug, you can see there, back up a little bit, so you're not getting much light, you're blocking the light. It's going to cycle right now, and the glow plug will come in here pretty soon. It just takes a while. Just got to be a little patient. And it's not a big deal to change the motherboard if you can. Oh, I'd say if you can screw in the light bulb, you can probably do it. It's just a matter of being careful. Don't be afraid of circuits. As long as you don't drop it or scratch it or anything, I mean, it's gonna be fine. Just with a little care. Just be delicate with it, and plug the things in. It's not rocket science. So here we go. So keep your eyes on this, okay? So right now. Okay, so now the blower's going, so this is exhausting air in there to kind of clear everything out, and then the glow plug is going to, once it starts heating up, okay, you can see that it starts heating up. All right, go back up here. Okay, now it's going to cycle, and when the flame kicks on, you're going to see the voltage. See that right there? 26.30 volts roughly, and the flame is on. See the flame? Look at the flame. So, and it stays like that. The voltage stays. So now I can take my leads off. But that is how I determined that the motherboard was bad. So now that it's good, obviously you see that it's getting the current the motherboard is sending it. And all is good. We're nice and toasty tonight. Hope this helps some of you that may not be experts at HVAC like myself, but a little research and just a little initiative, and you can get this going and save yourself a tremendous amount of money as long as you feel comfortable around this. Anyway, hope that helps. Signing off.